Evening, America. Welcome to Battleground Live. This is the show where we kick ass and we take names and we lock horns with the radical left. We never quit. We never surrender. From sea to shining sea and everybody in between. Welcome, Patriots, on this glorious Tuesday. And really, it is a glorious Tuesday because guess what? We have 13 days until the big guy, well, maybe we shouldn't refer to him as the big guy. We know who the big guy is. And that's corrupt. That's our corrupt animated corpse of a president and Joe Biden. How about we just say this? 13 days until President Trump is back in the White House. And folks, this guy is already changing the world. I mean, look, he's doing a lot of things. I'll just say this. Because we're going to get into all of this during the show today. I was watching his press conference today when he announced this massive $20 billion investment. And a company here is investing $20 billion to build data centers. I think that's a great thing for America. I want to see him bring jobs back to this country and facilitate more investment into this country. I want to get this economy going. I mean, the question is, who are we going to hire at these data centers? Are we going to hire H-1B visa holders or foreigners? Are we actually going to hire Americans? I mean, that stuff, those are questions that are going to have to be asked down the road. But the point is that people feel comfortable. Companies feel comfortable. CEOs feel comfortable investing in America again, rather than keep their money offshores in some Swiss bank account in a country with a lower corporate tax rate than America. I think that's a good thing to keep that money in our economy. It's funny, when I was running for office, I used to talk to CEOs, because I mean, that's how you meet with CEOs. If they believe in your vision, maybe the CEO or maybe his executive team, maybe they'll invest money into your campaign. And this is not the same as like a special interest or a company. I don't think I even took any corporate money. I don't think as a candidate you're allowed to take corporate money. I'm just saying the point is you talk to people who, run businesses to see what they think of the economy. And part of your job as a candidate is to learn from those people, learn about the businesses, learn about how they make money, learn about their bottom lines, learn about what you can do as a potential representative to do great things for them and advocate for them in Washington. And one of the things that a CEO of a steel manufacturing facility said to me was he called it Obama time, 8 years of Obama time. And I said, what do you mean by Obama time? He said, well, those are the 8 years in our country where in this industry, whether it was steel manufacturing, whether it was coal, whether it was natural gas, doesn't matter what it was. If it had anything to do with American manufacturing, he said during the 8 years of Barack Obama, they just marked time. In other words, that's a military term for just marching, standing still, but marching, right? I think the point that he was trying to make was that these companies didn't feel comfortable investing in their own infrastructure, investing in their own employees. They were scared to hire more employees because the economic conditions that Barack Obama set and the economic policies that Barack Obama set for this country absolutely destroyed American manufacturing, as it wasn't great for the economy across the board. But it was especially hostile on American manufacturing. And so what a lot of these companies did was just keep their money in a savings account. And then President Trump gets in office, beats Hillary Clinton for the first time. And all of a sudden, these companies are able to take all that money and invest it in new technology, invest it in upgrading their facilities, invest it, if you're working for steel manufacturing, new blast furnaces across the board, which lead to safer working conditions. The point is that President Trump is convincing people, not just here in America, CEOs here in America, but all across the world, that it's safe to invest in America again. And that is a very, very good thing. So we're going to talk about this Trump press conference because I talked to my Commander Melanie, my wife, and I said, man, every single time this guy does a press conference, he breaks some really, really earth-shattering and serious news. And I'm going to tell you why all of it is good for this country. Because I mean, maybe some people are wondering, hey, what's going on with Panama? What's this going on with Canada? This Greenland stuff. I'll see if we can explain this stuff and talk to you about why it's good for America and why I appreciate Trump's view on these things. Let me first just say, one of the OG members of the battle crew, her name is Demanda. She said, make sure that you mention the song name, because I got this song that plays on loop. We all get in the live chat for folks who are listening and watching for the first time. And by the way, welcome to my good buddy Dan Nunn, who's the host of the Nunn Report. It's a great show here on Rumble. If you're not following the Nunn Report already and his nunchucks, you should definitely go do that. Thank you for rating the stream today. We see you. We appreciate you. Also, McGroin Nation, you all are the best. And of course, all of you make up the battle crew. I think that might have been a haiku. Write that down. Anyways, I think that she said, mention that song that plays on loop, because we had some people asking. And the song is called Let Us Live by They Fall. Let Us Live by They Fall. Now, I didn't actually know that. It took Demanda reminding me of what the song was called. You'd think that I would know it, given that this is my show, but I just heard a song, got the rights to it. I'm like, this song's pretty damn cool. I think I'm going to play it on my loop. Never actually looked who wrote it, who sings it, what it was called. I just said, this sounds pretty cool, and I selected it as my loop. But thank you to those in the battle crew for squaring me away, as you usually do. Also, had a great dinner last night with our daughter, Natalie. Again, she turned 14, took her out to dinner, went absolutely awesome. I can't believe how fast, these kids grow up. It is absolutely unbelievable. She's 14 going on 45. I mean, she's so mature. Actually, all my girls are very mature. I'm not saying that the boys aren't, but girls mature faster than boys. We all know that. And in fact, I think some of my girls think that I haven't quite grown up yet, and that's okay because I probably haven't fully grown up yet. But can I just say something about parenting before we jump into all this craziness? Parenting really does challenge you in some unique ways that I feel like you're not usually tracking at the time you start growing your family. And I mean, I'm not talking about like kids getting in trouble. I mean, maybe I'm talking about that, but not specifically about that here. It's just that how kids in many ways shape, I think if you're a good parent, they shape a lot of the decisions that you make as you try to navigate this complex, web that is parenting. But it's watching these kids grow up and being around them and having to fight to be a dad. I mean, all of this, look back on this stuff, and as tough as it was sometimes, I consider it a blessing. And in many ways, it's still tough. I don't think any father, any good father should have to fight to see their children. And by the way, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, we're going to change that in Pennsylvania. We're going to change the law. I'm not going to go down this path, this show, I promise you, but we're going to change this law and make sure that I just personally believe that kids should, if both parents want to be involved, if both are good parents, they should have equal access to both parents. Nevertheless, parenting really challenges you in some unique ways. And I think when it's all said and done, I'm grateful for those challenges because iron sharpens iron. And I think that they make us stronger in the end. We look back on our lives and we learn maybe sometimes in retrospect that those challenges teach you something about life, about who you are, about who your kid is. And I think that's a good thing, even if we don't understand it in the moment. Okay, so before we get into this, we're going to talk about the Republicans. The Laken Riley Act was voted on the House floor today. It went good, but I got some stuff to talk about that, and then we're going to get into this Trump press conference where he broke just a ton of news. But I see a lot of people on social media talking about the Panama Canal, the Greenland stuff, the Canada stuff. And I'm saying I get where they're coming from completely, by the way, where they say, I'm questioning how this makes America better, not being critical of what Trump is saying, but just wondering like, how does this help us? And I think it's a legitimate question. I think and I've also seen other people out there saying, talking specifically about Greenland in this instance, hey, if Denmark doesn't stop messing around, we're going to take them next too. And of course, when I saw that, somebody posted that on X, I started laughing because, they were in jest, but it got me thinking. The comment got me thinking. And that was, folks, I think that Americans just want America to win again. And they want America to win again unapologetically. For a time when I grew up, it seemed like anytime America was involved in an Olympics, whether it was summer or winter, we just dominated everything we did. And we were unapologetic about it. We didn't care. We just won. That's what we did as Americans. We're filled with grit and determination and resolve and toughness and a never quit attitude. Like if you get knocked down, you get back up again. This is part of who we are. We're competitors. We're rugged individualists. And I don't know if it's just me, but it certainly seems like along the way, we've lost that. Not all of us, but many Americans have maybe lost that cutting edge, lost that, relentless determination, that competitive spirit. And I really think that what Trump is representing now, beyond just the policies in and of themselves, is America coming back and unapologetically winning. I mean, think about just even the movies from the 80s and even the 90s. The 80s gave us and the 90s gave us Sylvester Stallone. They gave us, Steven Seagal, Arnold Schwarzenegger, even though he's a dirtball lib who's not really from America. But the point is he played big, tough, strong American action hero. And I feel like while some of that's making a comeback, we're not quite there yet. Bruce Willis was another one, Die Hard. One of my favorite movies of all time. But I think people just want to see America win. And I think when Trump starts talking about the Panama Canal, people see it as a win. When people start talking about, oh yeah, this is what we do as Americans. We talk about Greenland, it makes us stronger, makes us better. Hey, that's a win. Talking to Canada, who's taken advantage of us for decades now, both in their trade and their over-reliance on American military might to protect them from Russia and China. Hey, you're done taking advantage of us. I think that's what the core of all this is about. President Trump sending a strong message. We're talking about Canada, Greenland, and Panama Canal now. And President Trump also issued in this press conference today a very strong statement about the Americans held hostage by Hamas and said if they aren't released by the time he walks into office, all hell is going to break loose in the Middle East. But folks, my fellow Americans, there is a common thread here that runs through each and every one of those statements. And it is a finger in the chest of America's allies, a finger in the chest of America's enemies, and saying the time of taking advantage of America is over. It ends now. I'm not even president yet, but it ends now. And I like that. I like that. And you remember just the movie American Sniper? Let me come over here to the live chat. While I do it, make sure you smash that like button, that little green thumb beneath the video. You guys remember the movie? Have you all seen the movie American Sniper? Do you remember that movie? It was met with meteoric success. And if you think back to that time, do you remember Michael Moore, the liberal Hollywood producer who started attacking Chris Kyle? And it just threw Americans into an uproar because, Chris Kyle, his nickname was the Legend, did great things for this country. That movie was wildly successful, I think, because the American people want to know through any means necessary. They want to watch movies that celebrate the greatness of this country. They want to know that it's okay to feel patriotic about America. They want to see positive military stories told. We're the biggest, baddest nation on the face of the planet. Damn it, let's make movies that showcase that. And I think American Sniper did that. And it was one of those movies that just became woven into the fabric of this country. And it exceeded all expectations at the box office, made way more than it cost to actually make. And it was profitable because people came away, while the film itself had a tragic ending as it pertained to Chris's life. The movie made you feel proud to be an American. And I think people just are talking about the things that I know, and that's the American military. Think about how Hollywood has really done a grave disservice to our military warriors. And I mean this. You know how I feel about the warrior class here in America. I don't care what branch, Coast Guard, Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, Army, doesn't matter. Space Force now. I think I got all the branches. But my point is, the warrior class is exceptional. I believe that they are America's most precious natural resource. You've heard me say it a million times on this show. They are the best of us. We should not frivolously throw them into forever wars and throw them into the meat grinder. Diplomacy and the pursuit of peace should always be on the table. This is what I appreciate about Donald Trump, his love and appreciation of the warfighter, the people who keep this country safe. Think about the systematic destruction of warrior culture as perceived by the American media. Almost every single movie, if it's popular, is about a broken veteran in some way. If it's a veteran type movie is what I mean. Almost every one. Or, he's broken by his experience of the war. Oh, look, he's got PTSD. He's broken. He's struggling. He's a powder keg, or he's depressed, or he's got PTSD. Oh, look, he's, an hour away from climbing a bell tower with a sniper rifle. I mean, these stereotypes that Hollywood puts out about America's veterans, especially those who have fought in 20 plus years of war, but not just us, but Vietnam veterans, Korea War veterans, every generation of American veterans, this stuff is harmful to our community. And you see it play out even in veteran monuments. I'm not talking all of them, but most of them have veterans like looking all sad, holding their chest and looking up to the sky, looking all forlorn. And I think to myself, stop making us look like victims. I volunteered to protect and defend this country. I'm a volunteer. I'm not a victim. Even though my combat experience was hell, I would volunteer to do it again. So these monuments, paint a military veteran, on a knee with his rifle at the ready, pulling security. That sends a message to every other veteran that, hey, there are still other missions out there. America still needs you. So take a knee, drink water, stay in the fight. But this is just one example of the United States military. Hollywood does this. There is a systematic movement in this country. Hollywood, the media, our education system, that does nothing but guilt people for loving this country. And it starts at a very young age. A lot of these history courses are selected to cover things, bad parts of American history. maybe things that we're not too proud of. But again, what makes America truly exceptional is that we always seek to right the ship. That's why we're different than everybody else. And I think with Trump, he represents something different. With Trump, he represents an America that is proud and unapologetically so, that's not afraid to win. I think this is what he means by America is going to win again. You're going to do so much winning. You're going to be tired. I mean, this is what he means. And I think I don't think I know this is the core of many of his statements and why he's talking in the way that he does. The way an American president speaks can change the world. And I'll tell you this, Democrat or Republican, if a Democrat president, and I don't think this will ever happen, but I'm trying to be, I'm being intellectually honest here. If a Democrat president got up at the podium and talked about loving America and, hey, we're going to be strong in the world and we're going to kick ass and we're going to take names and nobody's going to take advantage of us anymore. I mean, I might not agree with that guy. I certainly wouldn't agree with him on the vast majority of things, but okay. At least we start from a place of loving America. These liberals today, these Democrats today, it doesn't feel like they love America anymore. I mean, hell, in some of these liberal areas, you can't even fly an American flag without being labeled some sort of white supremacist. As there's been a movement on the liberal side of the aisle to make the American flag some sort of racist symbol. It's insane to me. But that ends now, I think, with President Trump taking office. Let me take a quick break. We're going to talk a little bit about the Laken Riley Act. And then we're jumping right into this Trump press conference where he just broke all sorts of news. We're going to break it down. The media is freaking out about it. Again, I don't quite understand why, other than they're just a bunch of histrionic losers that want to see America lose. But yeah, we're going to get into that in just a second. Let me tell you about My Patriot Supply. In the meantime, we're in crunch time right now. A new administration will be sworn in soon. But as great as that is, that also means our enemies have days left to stir up trouble. So that could mean a cyber attack. That could mean an invasion, or God forbid, a nuclear strike. So until the longtime bureaucrats are out of Washington, I'm not taking any chances. That's why I have an emergency food supply from My Patriot Supply. Right now, they're offering $100 off their 3-month emergency food kit. It's got 2,000 calories per day for 3 whole months. Plenty to get you through even a prolonged emergency. All their food kits last for up to 25 years in storage. Plus, they come in rugged, weatherproof buckets. You just got to go to preparewithvnn.com right now. Order your 3-month emergency food kit. I've got an emergency food supply in my home because my safety, my security, the safety of my family, their security is 100% worth it. You know, for what it costs to get 3 months of My Patriot Supply. I mean, look, it's to me, it's worth it to have. It's a modest investment spread out over 25 years. Let's just say that. And if that's what gets my family through a rough time, boy, is that worth it. So, go to preparewithvnn.com, order your 3-month emergency food kit right this second, because, folks, as I say all the time, it's better to be prepared, not paranoid, but prepared. Okay. So today, Republicans wasted no time passing the Laken Riley Act. They passed it 264 to 159. The bill basically mandates that illegal aliens charged with crimes have to be detained and then queued up for deportation. I mean, I think it's a very reasonable thing. If you come to this country illegally, you've already broken one crime. Frankly, that should be enough to detain you and deport you. I mean, seriously. And again, for first-time listeners, because we got a lot of first-time listeners, and we're getting a lot of first-time listeners every day. A lot of first-time viewers joining us for the live show here on Rumble. The left is very sinister when they talk about immigration. I'm just recapping my thoughts on this for people who might be joining us for the first time. They conflate illegal immigration with legal immigration. And they try to kick up all sorts of dust to make it out to seem like Republicans are against legal immigration. I mean, of course, we're not. We have a system that lets in millions of legal immigrants every single year. They come here, they assimilate, they go through a process. It takes years. By the time it's done, they really, really, really appreciate being an American. I mean, most of us are cool with that. Frankly, immigration has gotten so out of control, not legal immigration, but because of illegal immigration, that I think there is merit to a discussion anyway about some sort of a pause on legal immigration as well until we can get this situation under control. I just think at this point it's common sense. When you look at how many millions and millions of illegal alien invaders have come into this country, not just during the last 3 years, but this really started under Obama's administration where they opened the floodgates at our southern border. I mean, there are probably 20, 30 million illegal aliens here in this country, and that is just too much to bear, especially when you consider the economic implications, the national security implications. We saw what happened in Louisiana last week. Cannot let that stuff happen. That's just one person. Look at the damage that one person did. Obviously, this guy is from Texas, but was radicalized by ISIS, so it's a little bit more complicated than that. But the point is, we still face a grave asymmetric threat, and having a wide open southern border does nothing but exacerbate that threat. It's not a good thing. And so the House Republicans passed the bill. 159 Democrats voted against the Laken Riley Act. 159 Democrats voted against the Laken Riley Act. Laken Riley, of course, was a Georgia college student murdered by an illegal alien. And if you read the story about how she was murdered, boy, I'm trying to find the words. To say that it was horrifying is an understatement. Because Laken Riley fought for her life until the very last second. Her death was preventable. Any American who dies at the hands of an illegal alien invader, their deaths are preventable. It shouldn't happen here in America. These deaths can be laid at the feet of the Democrat Party. And look, you see 159 Democrats vote against justice for Laken Riley. But prior to that, on Friday, as I was down in Washington at the Senate swearing in, I was watching Speaker Mike Johnson's speech after he won the speakership on the first vote. And he mentioned something about deporting criminal illegal aliens, because that's the starting point, right? There has to be a deportation operation here in this country. Got to start deporting people that come here legally and incentivizing an actual real life immigration system. But he said, we're going to deport criminal illegal aliens. Republicans erupted in applause. No Democrats clapped. Doesn't that tell you everything that you need to know about this Democrat Party? I mean, honest to God, it's absolutely unbelievable. And what the Democrats do is they take an issue like, say, illegal immigration that is just devastating to this country, economically, from a national security standpoint, across the board, a net negative for America. Again, no one is opposed to legal immigration where there's a system and a structure and assimilation and people who want to become American citizens and love the Constitution. But the Democrats are experts at kicking up dust and conflating an issue. And one of the things that they do is they never accept blame for anything. If their policies led to something that is detrimental for America, they don't accept blame. They deny blame. They accuse you of something, and then they cite some other bullshit thing to kick up all this dust. And what they do is effectively conflate issues and then point the finger. Listen to Jamie Raskin, who's a radical leftist Democrat in the House of Representatives, talking about the Laken-Riley Act, which again passed, but 159 Democrats voted against it. Like real common sense stuff, like detain criminals, put them on a path for deportation. Listen to how Raskin goes after the Laken-Riley Act. Just listen to this. It's crazy. It's sinister. It should be rejected.
Don't be lectured by our colleague that we don't stand up for the American people. The author of this legislation actually yesterday sent out a tweet, social media statement characterizing the January 6th violent assault on this chamber.
See, there it is. Never mind 10 plus illegal alien, 10 plus million, more than that. More like 20 million, probably 30 million illegal alien invaders in this country. We don't know who they are. It's absolutely a national emergency. This guy doesn't address that, but points the finger at Republicans, and you guessed it, January 6th.
Where 140 officers were wounded, injured, and hospitalized by a rampaging mob this way. On this day in history, 2021, said the gentleman, thousands of peaceful grandmothers gathered in Washington, D.C. to take a self-guided, albeit unauthorized tour of the U.S. Capitol building. I like that touch, albeit unauthorized. Earlier that day, President Trump held a rally where supporters walked to the Capitol to peacefully protest the certification of the 2020 election. During this time, some individuals entered the Capitol, took photos, and explored the building before leaving. Well, isn't that sweet? We see exactly how much faith and confidence they really have in the American criminal justice system and how much they really stand on the side of law enforcement. Yeah, it was just a leisurely stroll by a bunch of peaceful grandmothers on January 6th. And these are the people that now are inviting us to dramatically change the immigration laws without even a hearing as to what it's going to mean in any particular case.
Okay. Dramatically change immigration laws. All we're trying to do is detain with this bill. But you see, kicks up the dust. Oh, they want to dramatically change immigration laws. And so an inexperienced debater would debate this Democrat on that point. Oh, that's not what we want to do. They kick up dust. They get you to engage in straw men. This bill has nothing to do with changing, immigration law. It's just simply about enforcing the law that already exists and fast-tracking deportation should an illegal alien invader be convicted of a crime. It's common sense. And ultimately, listen, I don't think, at least in the short term, that these lies are going to be as effective as they were in Trump's first term. I know maybe you're thinking this is an optimistic view. I have no faith in the media. They're all a bunch of hypocrite liars. I'm talking about the corporate media, establishment media, like ABC, just completely lost, but also CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC is about to be sold, about to go under. All of these news organizations are hemorrhaging their audience because people don't trust them anymore. People like Dan Bongino and a lot of these independent content creators have a far bigger audience than CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC. I mean, same is true with Megyn Kelly and others. So if their audience is bleeding away, so too will their power to push fake narratives. And therein lies the genius of Trump. And this is what I'm getting to. Trump has done an amazing job at threatening is the wrong word, but putting pressure on these social media companies to just simply embrace free speech and allow for the open exchange of ideas. If an idea sucks and it's horrible and it's racist and terrible and evil, well, I would rather see that statement with my own two eyes, identify who says it so I know that I could write that person off forever, and let the marketplace of ideas reject something that have it be censored. That's the great gift. That is the great gift of the United States Constitution. The First Amendment was intended for a moral American people. And I still contend that by and large, the American people are good. They know right when they see it. So let this stuff be debated, even the crazy. And Trump has done a great job at putting pressure on social media companies to simply embrace the First Amendment. And so too has Elon Musk. Elon Musk has also done a great job. In many ways, he's led the charge here. But look at what Zuckerberg, of course, Zuckerberg owns Facebook and Zuckerberg owns Instagram. Look at the video that he put out this morning. This was dominating the news cycle earlier today, and people have been talking about it ever since. Check this out.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression.
By the way, I don't trust this, okay? Neither should you. Zuckerberg has been terrible to the America First movement. I mean, he helped rig the election in 2020 for Biden. No doubt about it. Always be wary of rich leftists who come bearing gifts. The reason why I warn you to be wary is that because as conservatives, we are forgiving. As conservatives, we tend to welcome people into our circle, acknowledging that, hey, we don't agree on everything, but hey, you're welcome, right? That's what we do. We're the Big Tent Party. That's part of who we are. Be wary of rich liberals, rich elitist liberals coming to bear gifts like this. Because Mark Zuckerberg has never really embraced free speech. He's doing it now because Trump put pressure on him. So we shouldn't, I mean, look, trust is earned. I'm not saying reject it outright in perpetuity, but just be cautious.
And I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms.
Okay, so that's a good thing, but he says right there, this election is what caused me to think this way. So again, on one hand, it's a good, if you're giving him grace, and I think we all should, trust but verify, trust has to be earned. But he's saying, hey, the election got me thinking that like maybe we're doing it wrong, but it could also be looked at as like, hey, there's an election, Trump has power, and I don't want him coming after me, right? So just again, listen.
More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US.
Good thing.
After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
That's correct.
So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action.
Okay, I can't listen to anymore. But the point is, like, removing fact checkers is a big deal. And removing the filters on immigration and the transgender insanity is a big deal. Let's see what happens. Let's see if that algorithm changes. But let me tell you, or I'll talk about it from a political angle. The general rule of thumb, or what people used to say back in the day, and I think this is still generally true, is that elections aren't won on X or Twitter. The vast majority of America still isn't on X. While the platform is growing like gangbusters and Elon Musk has attracted a lot of new users who want free speech, I mean, I think the phrase continues to ring true, and that is elections are not won on X. The vast majority of voters are on Facebook. So if Mark Zuckerberg is telling the truth, we should know relatively quickly if anything has changed, but this is a net positive for conservatives. And part of the reason you might be thinking like, well, Sean, why are you optimistic about this? This seems kind of, I don't trust him. I don't either. I've already said this to you, but it's how the media has reacted to it that kind of gives me a sense that Zuckerberg is serious. And then also Mark Zuckerberg adding Dana White, the CEO of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, to the board on Meta, I think has the media, the corporate media, pretty scared. I mean, look at this headline. This is the New York Times. I mean, actually, if I just didn't show you who wrote it, the headline says, Meta says fact checkers were the problem. Fact checkers rule that as false. This could be a headline from the Babylon Bee or some other political satire website, for God's sake. Meta says fact checkers were the problem. Fact checkers rule that was false. You know the problems that I've had with fact checkers. They're all partisan hacks. Savage Rich Barris and I have talked about this ad nauseum on the show. I mean, by the way, Savage Rich Barris, he's confirmed for tomorrow. He's back in the saddle. So tomorrow's Savage Wednesday. Make sure you're here for Savage Wednesday. But yes, Savage Rich Barris on deck for tomorrow. So make sure you're there. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Had a phone call coming in the middle of the show. But this, I think, is a net good. This is a good thing for conservatives. And it wasn't just the New York Times freaking out about it. CNN talked about it. Potato, Brian Stelter, and Jim Acosta. Listen to this.
It gets to this broader sense that when people like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg talk about free speech, everybody wants free speech. But it oftentimes seems that these tech CEOs actually are favoring or preferring a certain kind of speech, right? They're favoring their own speech or their own political preferences and not the actual entire user or the community's speech. You know, the changes announced by Meta today are very much a MAGA makeover, a pro-Trump makeover. And that's going to win Meta some conservative users, but it may repel some liberals. That's the same thing we've seen happen on Elon Musk's X. He's turned it into more of a right-wing platform where he's pro-free speech when it's really pro-Musk or pro-Trump speech.
All right.
I'm sorry. It's just kind of amazing that here you have CNN, Acosta, and Brian Stelter attacking, social media CEOs, which, by the way, Zuckerberg helped rig the 2020 election in favor of Biden and was censoring America First conservatives all along the way. And then Twitter as well. You remember they kicked President Trump off of Twitter for talking after January 6th, telling people to go home peacefully. I mean, Jack Dorsey, in charge of Twitter at the time, did some crazy, crazy things in censoring America First conservatives. So they're talking as if none of this happened. And they're attacking Musk and Zuckerberg for simply embracing, again, I don't trust Zuckerberg, but embracing freedom of speech. And here's all we want, folks. This is the most important part. And I touched on this leading into the segment. All we want is a marketplace of ideas where people can share their opinions. That's it. Nobody wants censorship on our side of the aisle. If it's a bad idea, let it stand the test of the marketplace. If the idea sucks, then I trust the American people to discard it. I trust my own judgment. You should too. Shouldn't want these big tech oligarchs telling you what's okay and what's not okay to look at. What people like Stelter and Acosta and these corporate media outlets want is they want everybody that disagrees with them completely canceled, shut down, censored, so that they can have a monopoly on the narrative, not the truth, but the narrative. And so we're going to talk here about Trump. Make sure you smash that like button, that little green thumb beneath the video. Smash it. We're going to talk about the Trump press conference and how he plans to really reshape the world, and I think in what is a good way. But let me tell you about home title lock first. The FBI calls it house stealing, and you probably heard about this devastating crime on the news because it's a big problem. Scammers can transfer your home title, take out loans in your name, and leave you with nothing but a financial and emotional disaster. So if you own a home or any real estate whatsoever, it's crucial you protect your property and equity from these criminals. And there's no better way that I know of than HometitleLock.com/BNN. That's the website. If you're curious about this, now's the time to check it out. Everybody that listens and watches this show will get a free title scan to check to see if your home is still in your name, plus 30 days of free Home Title Lock's triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts if anything has changed, and most importantly, restoration of your title if there's ever any fraud at all. So you'll immediately be protected, and you'll get 30 days free when you use the promo code VNN at sign up. So protect your home, protect your equity, and your peace of mind right now with HometitleLock.com/BNN. Promo code VNN. That is HometitleLock.com/BNN. Okay. So Trump, he's at his press conference today. I'm watching it live. I cannot believe how much news this guy is breaking in one-hour press conference. Meanwhile, Biden can't even do a 5-minute press conference. It really is stunning that our country has been able to withstand the damage of 4 years of Joe Biden and company in the White House. It's stunning to me. It actually is a testament to the resiliency of America. But what got my attention was in this press conference with regards to Trump was just how clear it was that he loved America and how serious he is about making this country great again. Listen to Trump about making things in the USA.
By 4 times more than any other president cut. We did that in 4 years, and we were just getting started. We'll impose new tariffs so that the products on our stores will once again be stamped with those beautiful words, made in the USA. And we are not treated well, as you know, by Canada. Canada is subsidized to the tune of about $200 billion.
I mean, so he's talking about made in the USA. Look, people get fired up about this because they say, we'll have to pay more for stuff if it's all made in America. And that might be true. But let me ask you, Battle Crew, I'm jumping over here to the live chat because I want to hear from you. Would you be willing, I know times are tough, but would you be willing to pay a little extra for things if there was a guarantee that everything that you bought was made in America? If we could figure that out, I mean, obviously we're not going to flip a switch and make that happen overnight. But I know for me, I prefer buying things that are made in America. And I think where Trump is coming from here, the whole point of made in America. Yeah, look at everyone saying yes, 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 yes. I mean, like this is yeah, okay. So this is a good thing. I think most of us here are America first. Most of us here want to see America thrive, want American jobs to come back, want small towns to start thriving again. And if we got to pay a little bit extra to chip in to have that, it's okay. But there are also national security implications here. Like steel, manufacturing our own steel. We build aircraft carriers here in America with all American steel because we don't trust other countries to send us steel to build our warships with. I mean, of course, it makes sense. And a lot of these weaknesses, or chinks in the armor, you could call them, were really highlighted during COVID. Why is the vast majority of antibiotic production happen in China? That gives China an enormous amount of leverage against the USA in the event of an actual pandemic, or in the event that Americans actually need antibiotics. If they're producing them all there, China just says, well, screw you. You're not getting them. We're not sending them. We want America to suffer. And so this is why it's important to produce things here. We don't want to give countries leverage over us if we produce things over there. Now, look, doing that allows us to pay less money for things at the store, but if it's good for our country, if it's good for our economy, it's good for national security, and it actually puts our enemies in a tough spot, so be it. I'll pay a couple extra bucks to have it made in America. But then Trump said something about the Gulf of Mexico that just had me cheering.
$50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate.
This guy's awesome. I love that idea. Why the hell not, by the way? It's the Gulf of America. Absolutely. Change the name. I love how bold this guy is. We're the world's lone superpower. America is alone over the last 70 plus years. Now, we've made a lot of mistakes. We've been involved in some stupid wars. Yes, of course, all of that is true. But America has had a net positive effect on global prosperity for a very, very, very long time. And countries all around the world rely on us. And countries all around the world also take advantage of us. Listen to I'm laughing because this press conference was all over the place. And Brian Dean Wright was texting me today about it too, about how he just loves President Trump. And he just can't help but laugh when he watches the guy. He was talking about how Trump goes 1 minute talking about American national security, about tariffs, about Canada, about Panama, about Greenland. And then he's talking about electric heat and how he hates it because it makes him itchy. It's just like all over the place. Biden doesn't even know where the hell he is half the time. And now we have an incoming president who's already doing the job, who's not in the Oval Office, and is already reshaping the world, talking about electric heat. It's just like, what an adjustment. And to the liberals out there who might be watching this, or maybe you were on the fence, can you see the difference? The difference is pretty damn stark, wouldn't you say, between Biden and Trump? So listen to Trump on Greenland and Panama.
President, thank you. Wanted to touch on the world on fire that you mentioned, but let's start, if we could, with your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah, I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal. But if you remember, and nobody wants to talk about the Panama Canal now because, it's inappropriate, I guess, but because it's a bad part of the Carter legacy. But He was a good man. Look, he was a good man. I knew him a little bit, and he was a very fine person, but that was a big mistake. Giving the Panama Canal to Panama was a very big mistake. We lost 38,000 people. It cost us the equivalent of $1 trillion, maybe more than that. Probably the most expensive, they say it was the most expensive structure, if we call it a structure, which I guess you can, ever built. And giving that away was a horrible thing. And I believe that's why Jimmy Carter.
He's right. And here's how dire the situation is. And if you want, we can delve more into this with Brian Dean Wright this week on Friday. But China is so intimately involved in the Panama Canal that I think right now they can shut down shipping on the canal. China is that close to us that would wreak economic devastation in America, on Canada, and surrounding countries. It would just be devastating. And Trump is absolutely right. We have a treaty with the Panama Canal. In that treaty, we can take it back if we want, especially if a hostile nation that wishes to do us harm takes it over. And so this is why Trump is talking about Panama in the way that he is. He sees this as a threat to all of our lives and livelihoods here in America. This is an American president telling our enemies that they should be wary of their global maneuvers. Be careful because America is back. And so when President Trump talks about Greenland and Panama, as it pertains to Greenland, especially, we talked about Panama, and let's talk about Greenland. Russia right now, and China, but mostly Russia, is doing everything that they can to dominate those shipping lanes, maritime shipping routes north of Greenland. Russia cannot have a monopoly on those shipping lanes. We have to own them. We're the only country in the world that can be trusted to own them because we are the world's lone and world's only ever benevolent superpower. They're ours. We want them. Not having them puts Americans at risk. And Trump, that's why this Greenland talk. Greenland is a part of Denmark. Denmark doesn't have the resources to protect Greenland. And that's why Trump is talking about Greenland. And as far as Canada goes, I'm not sure what his geopolitical ambitions are with Canada, but I know for a fact that Trump believes we are very, 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 very vulnerable to China and Russia on our northern hemisphere because Canada invests almost nothing in their military. These things, Trump sees these vulnerabilities on our northern hemisphere and says, okay, well, hey, Canada becomes the 51st state. Well, guess what? We own it. We'll protect it now. We can do it better than you. Now, look, is saying that you want to be the 51st, you want Canada to become the 51st state, is that a bold statement? Of course it is. But Trump's a pretty bold guy. And if we don't end up owning Canada, fine. But if they invest several more $1 billion in defending their country and their the northern hemisphere against Russia and China, I'm all for it. Trump also said during this briefing that he's going to completely ban those offshore windmills that dominate the horizon when you're at the beach and kill, aquatic life. Hates them. Guy breaks more news than you could possibly imagine in a single press conference. Here, how about on January 6th? Listen to this question about January 6th. Listen to Trump just go off about J6.
Police officers were injured by rioters on January 6th. Will you pardon anyone who attacked a police officer?
Well, the only one that was killed was a beautiful young lady named Ashley Babbitt. She was killed, and there was actually somebody else that was killed, also a MAGA person, but people don't give it 100% credibility. I'm going to find out about it, and we're going to find out. But Ashley Babbitt was killed. She was shot. Should have never been shot. She was shot for no reason whatsoever. In fact, they say that she was trying to hold back the crowd, and the crowd was made up of a lot of different people, so we'll see. But I will tell you this, the person that was killed was Ashley Babbitt. The other thing is, when they talk, there was never charges of insurrection or anything like that. But if there were, this would be the only insurrection in history where people went in as insurrectionists with not one gun. Okay?
He's exactly right. I'm so tired of the term insurrection. It's such BS. It's such a propaganda tool for the left. Okay, so talked about J6, talked about Greenland, talked about Panama, talked about making the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Trump talked about making things in America again. Well, what else is on the bingo card? How about Russia and Ukraine?
To hold on to leverage in dealing with President Putin, would you make a commitment to the Ukrainians that you will keep supporting them during the negotiations?
Well, I wouldn't tell you if that were the case.
Would you make a commitment to provide a security guarantee if they do enter into an armistice or a ceasefire along the lines that the French and the Germans?
So, a big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that. That's been written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made.
Trump talking the history of NATO, or how about Trump on same-day voting?
A horrible place. One of the things we're going to do is we've got to fix the election so that we get honest counts and they get done by 10 o'clock in the evening or something thereabouts. They have places where they're still counting votes.
This guy is a powerhouse, and I'm telling you, he's going to change the world. He's going to make he's going to make the world better. He's going to make America better. That's the title of the episode, folks. And you know what? The media and the left, they did not expect him to win. They thought they'd be able to, use the impeachments, use the J6 committee, the fake insurrection, the lawfare. They thought they'd be able to use all of that stuff to prevent this guy from getting in the Oval Office again, and they completely failed. And there's just absolute panic mode. Listen to CNN, Dana Bash wasting no time trying to spin up all these crazy fake narratives about President Trump just because of this one press conference. It's great. Next 4 years are going to be great.
Some new information about what he intends to do, or at the very least is not ruling out when he takes office, including not ruling out a military invasion to conquer Greenland, the Panama Canal, and perhaps the annexation of the country of Canada.